Podcast Media Podcast Network.
Okay, so this is going to be an update on a case that happened back in June. Now, originally I didn't even report on this because, there was not a lot of information that was released, but today we have an update for this case. Let's just get into it. Good evening, demons and demons. This is Kwame Wahkan here, and today we're going to be talking about an incident that had happened back in June involving a young woman by the name of Christina Hayes. Now, Christina Hayes, she was unfortunately strangled to death in an alley back in June. So, this was literally a crime that happened in the middle of Pride Month, mind you. Now, just recently, the killer that was involved in this case has been charged, and once again, it's by everyone's favorite prosecutor, Kym Worthy. I have a news clip, so let's watch it together, shall we?
Now to this. The details are disturbing. A teen is accused of strangling a transgender woman to death and stealing her money and her cell phone, then leaving her body in an alley behind a laundromat.
It's a case that has some neighbors and LGBTQ advocates speaking out. Local 4's Demond Fernandez joins us now with more. Demond.
Well, that fatal assault happened on Woodward near 6 Mile. It's an area many neighbors say is known by people looking for sex workers, including those identifying as transgender. Now, the criminal charges in this case have some advocates opening up about an often unspoken reality. It's the tragedy behind this laundromat near Palmer Park.
The allegations here, quite simply, they're unacceptable.
A black transgender woman beaten and strangled to death in this alley back in June. And now this week, investigators announcing they're charging 18-year-old Malique Fails in connection to that murder.
They're dangerous to the highest degree, and they're hideous.
During his court appearance, prosecutors allege the teen paid the victim, 28-year-old Christina Hayes, to perform a sex act in the alleyway. Prosecutors say once completed, things took a violent turn.
Allegedly finding out that the victim identified as a transgender. And as a direct result of that, we have this defendant who allegedly ended up choking that individual to death.
Obviously, we are all heartbroken and devastated.
Brendan Bell is Associate Director of Programs and Services with Affirmations Community Center. Bell says violent assaults on members of the transgender community is a reality happening far too often.
I don't know a single trans or non-binary person, both that I know in my life personally or that I work with on a day-to-day basis, that isn't terrified right now.
Bell says there are several factors at play among trans community members, including bullying and rejection, other realities leading to high-risk behavior, and there's often fear reporting incidents to police.
And so when we look at incidents of violence specifically towards the trans community, we see it disproportionately aimed at the black trans women specifically.
As for Malique Fails,
this case, Judge, I don't think my client presents any sort of general danger to the community. I think this case arises from pretty unique, highly fact-specific circumstances.
While the teen's defense attorney's fighting to get him a bond, the judge determined it's too risky for now. And so there are advocacy centers and organizations across Metro Detroit working to bring awareness and attention to cases like this, including Affirmations Community Center, the Ruth Ellis Center, LGBT Detroit, and ACLU, among others. We've added links to these organizations under this story on clickondetroit.com. Back to you.
Well, I will say the lad does live up to his name. Malique Javon Fails. I mean, literally, the way he spells his last name is Fails. Oh, let's just say this guy was a complete and total failure as a man, complete and total failure as a human being. Now, I have to say this, major props and respect for, the news station for showing this guy's face. Because every time I do stories about trans women that are getting murdered or, victims of hate crimes, they never want to show the people's faces. I always have to go and find a way to and dig out and try to find a mugshot or, a post where the person is showing their face. But they actually showed everything. So major respect to them for that. Only problem is we have no photo of the actual victim. I want to, post a photo of the victim. The family of Christina Hayes hasn't released any photos. So I'm guessing they want their privacy. And, that's something we all have to respect. If they don't want to be shown out there, then just leave them alone for that. But lots of people are talking about this, and one of the things that I've often hear is that supposedly trans women are tricking cis straight men into having relationships with them, and that's the reason why they're, the victims of so many crimes, which honestly we all know that's untrue. I mean, I've seen the comments on many posts. Some people are saying, oh, well, they should free him. Some people are saying, oh, he did nothing wrong. Some people are saying, oh, well, Christina should have been honest. Well, let's take a second and look at some of the facts in all of these cases. All right, every video that I've done involving, a trans woman getting murdered, each and every one of these victims knew that they were trans prior to them hooking up, prior to them having any sort of, sexual contact. Some of them have even met on queer dating apps. So there's no way that you can say that you were tricked. Like, why would you go on a queer dating app and expect to meet a straight person? Like, that makes no fucking sense. That's bollocks, just like I know it's bollocks. These guys know exactly what they're getting into. Now, if you don't believe me, now it's clearly obvious that the people that are making these ridiculous statements probably never have met a trans person in real life, probably doesn't have any trans friends. And if you do, now, to those in my audience, if you do know someone that happens to be trans, ask them what their inbox look like. I guarantee you it's a bunch of messages from a bunch of lads, or some of them probably even married, wanting to hook up with them simply because they're trans. And let's be honest, the trans community, they're 100% aware of what's going on. They know a lot of these lads simply just want to get into the pants, and then as soon as they're done, they'll never hear from them again. And also, another thing I want to add is, what makes you think that these trans women want to sleep with cis straight men anyway? Like, you do realize that there's T for T, and that exists. You do realize that some trans people happen to be in sapphic relationships. So, like, the whole idea that a trans woman wants to do all this, get all the surgeries, take the hormones, go through years of therapy simply to sleep with cis straight men, then you're an idiot for believing in all that. No trans person is going to risk his or her life to date someone that clearly hates the fact that they exist. And for those saying, oh, well, they need to be more honest, they need to tell them up front, well, how much more honest do you need them to be? A lot of my friends, will put like a trans flag on their profile, or they'll put trans in their bio. Sometimes they'll put the transgender emoji in their bio. And guess what happens? They still get hit on by cis straight men. There was a friend of mine, she sent me a screenshot of her dating profile. Now, it clearly says in big, bold, all capital letters, I am transgender. And it also says underneath the profile, where the picture is, it says trans woman. She posted another screenshot of the guy that she matched up with, and it says in his bio, I do not date trans women, I only like real women. But yet, so if you only like real women, why the hell did you swipe right on a trans woman, and why are you sending her messages? That makes no sense. So a lot of these guys, if anything, cis straight men are lying and tricking trans women into sleeping with them. A cis straight man will literally walk up to somebody and be like, oh, I love you, or I want to take you out on a date, you're so cute, you're so beautiful. But when it's time to, actually go out on a public date, or, they get a chance to meet their friends or their family, oh, I don't want you meeting my friends, I don't want you meeting my family, I'm just gonna, and then they commit these violent crimes against these women, and then they want to use the argument, oh, I didn't know, and they think that that's a get out of jail free card. It's not a get out of jail free card, and honestly, most people with enough common sense know that the whole they tricked me is a bullshit argument, because that's what they all say. That's literally what they all say. So you met a trans woman who clearly says that she's trans, who has the trans flag in her bio, that you met on a transgender dating site, and you claim that you didn't know that you were with a trans woman. What kind of idiot do you take me for? And the thing is, How many times are we going to hear this argument over and over and over again from cis men and people that want to defend this type of behavior? The point I'm trying to make is no trans person wants to sleep with somebody that's going to disrespect their existence. You know, one of the things that I even do myself is I'll put the trans flag in my own profile image or in my banner or even in my bio. Because, you know, there's been many times where I've dated a woman, you know, I thought she was, you know, had the same values that I had, and turns out they were bloody transphobic. But I have some more good news. Apparently more people in my community are starting to realize that this whole "she tricked me" argument is nothing more than a bloody excuse. In fact, it's worse than an excuse. It's a bloody lie. Here are a few comments I want to read for you guys. So this person says, "This NGA in the trans headquarters 6 and Woodward area and talking about he didn't know what it was," and then he posts like an image of a man with a confused face.
It's an area many neighbors say is known by people looking for sex workers, including those identifying as transgender.
This person says he definitely knew just from that area alone.
It's an area many neighbors say is known by people looking for sex workers, including those identifying as transgender.
Another person says, "Good. It's good to see an arrest in this case. No one has the right to victimize on a whim." This person says he's been messing with them for a while. These types of stories been going on since the 80s on Woodward, so young dude knew what was up.
It's an area many neighbors say is known by people looking for sex workers, including those identifying as transgender.
This person says, "So you was in Highland Park soliciting and you didn't know it was a trans person? Yeah, okay, you going right where you want to be."
It's an area many neighbors say is known by people looking for sex workers, including those identifying as transgender.
And then I have the last one here. LOL, well, he sure lives up to the name Fails. He sure did. Much respect to the judge for not granting this person bond, because to be honest with you, people like this don't deserve a slap on the wrist. The fact that Kym Worthy is prosecuting this as well, this guy is going to be taught a lesson that he's going to have to learn for the rest of his bloody life. It's a shame that he had to learn this lesson when he was 18 years old. He couldn't just act like a decent human being. You know, if you don't want to be with a trans woman, then for fuck's sake, leave trans women alone. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. You guys let me know what you think. Alright, you guys, stay safe, stay metal, hail Satan, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.